It's November and I haven't done a garden tour for ages, so I thought I'd give you a quick tour of where things are up to with the winter raised beds and show you some of the challenges I've got, partly because I've been neglecting the raised beds because of life, and partly because of a bit of bad luck I've had this year that's really affected my veg growing. So if you're having any difficulties with your veg growing this winter, you're not alone. I'm here too. So let's show you some of the highs and lows of winter veg growing. So here's a quick hello from the carrot eating puppy, and let's start with the hinged raised bed we made a couple of years ago, and this is the main bed for my winter growing. It's really sturdy, which is great for me living by the coast where it's super windy. I've got heavy duty plastic on it, so it provides a good bit of warmth and still light getting through, so I can grow some winter greens, which, as you know, I love. So let's have a look at what's growing in here. So here's my first surprising problem with the raised bed this year, and that is that our wall lizards that live here on this shingle beach have decided to live in the raised bed, and they've eaten nearly all of the carrot tops. So we've got a bit of a small harvest of carrots here, but hey, a small harvest of carrots is better than none at all. Or at least it is, unless you have a puppy who happens to like carrots. So this carrot's still got most of its leaves, so let's pull that one first and hopefully have a bit of good news on that one at least. Now the other things I've got growing, this is a pink passion chard, which is a volunteer plant, and I've left it in because I'm not sure how well the chard's going to do this year. Haven't got anything else in this side of the bed. It's not a great position because it's right on the edge of the raised bed, but I'm going to pick it as baby leaves and just see how we get on. And then my main crop over winter, as you'll know if you've watched my videos, is to grow lettuce, and this is the picking style lettuce so that I can pick a few leaves and still have salads in the winter. But look, I had absolutely loads of lettuce when I planted these, but we've had a massive slug and snail problem this year. So not as much lettuce as I like, but they are still doing well, and in fact some of these are okay to pick. Plenty of slug damage, but plenty of good leaves too. So I'll do a little harvest on those once I've got the video done. So in this end of the covered raised bed, I've got two kale plants still in, a curly kale and another kale, I'm not sure which one it is actually. I'm going to harvest those leaves and then either freeze them or dehydrate them so that I've got greens to go into soups and stews and stuff in the winter. And then I'll take these out to give more room to what you can see here, which is the chard plants I like to grow over winter, and these do much better here on the south coast anyway if they are under cover. And this one is the golden chard, and then I've kept by a couple of little plugs in case. Actually looking at them today, I think these will survive really well. And if you've not grown pink passion chard, it's quite rare, it's really delicious. It makes a fantastic Saag Aloo. You can use the stalks in there and the greens like the spinach, and I'll leave a link for my video on how to do that in the description if you've not seen it. But pink passion chard is my absolute favourite, and also it's really cheerful in the winter. So that's where we're at with the covered raised bed, my absolute favourite thing. If you've not tried a hinged hoop cover in winter, they really are worth it if you're in this kind of climate that we're in. Now let's have a look at the other beds. Okay, so here we've got one of the meshed raised beds. So what I grow in the meshed raised beds over winter primarily is brassicas. So what we've got here is some purple sprouting broccoli plants. Got two of those that have survived, and then down the end here we've got some cavallonera, some black kale, and another kind of unidentified kale. I'm not sure what it is because I got a load of mixed plugs. And this purple sprouting broccoli is doing really well. It's nice and upright because I managed to stake it early. What it has had is lots and lots and lots of snail damage, and I'm constantly finding huge amounts of tiny little mini snails on these plants, and then we're getting a lot of damage to the leaves. So I'm taking off the leaves that are completely damaged. Now you can see the difference with a plug I put in at exactly the same time but didn't get around to staking it because I've got to saw up some stakes, which I don't love doing. I'm not great at DIY. And this one has bent right over. So this has been flat to the ground from one of the storms. Lots and lots of damage on this plant. And I'm not sure how this is going to be if I stake it at this point. If you are an experienced brassica grower, especially in windy conditions, let me know what you think about this. Should I leave it and hope for the best, or should I put in one of my other plugs? Otherwise, it is actually looking okay. It's managed to survive the slug damage, got lots of nice healthy leaves on it. So I don't know what to do about this. So this bed is not too bad. It's got a few weeds. I need to do a little bit of weeding. We've had a fox get in and get through the netting, and I can see a raised part of the soil, which suggests to me it might have been digging and doing unmentionables in the bed, which is horrible. Oh, no. So I'm going to have to be checking that later, but I won't subject you to that. So here is the final bed, currently known as the Bed of Doom, because I've been really unlucky this year with a batch of compost that was absolutely full of weed seeds. And with no dig gardening, if you've not done it before, you don't tend to get many weeds. So I'm not used to having to do much weeding. But when I've put a big layer of this compost on that I was suspicious of, it has just been weed after weed after weed all season. So this bed is embarrassingly bad and in need of a major clean-up. And then despite it all, what I've got here is some Brussels sprouts. So this is the first year I've grown Brussels sprouts, and I'm not really sure what they're meant to look like, but they're looking pretty good to me, so who knows, we might have some sprouts at Christmas. And then in between the weeds, we've got some more broccoli plants. Again, they need staking. I've left these far too late, but they are surviving with bits of bamboo and stuff that have held them up. Really surprisingly, we've still got marigolds managing to survive, but I will be taking those out when I finally get rid of all these weeds. And then on the end here, we've got some more kale. This is a lovely deep purple coloured curly kale. Not sure what its variety is, but it looks wonderful. So again, I'm going to be harvesting from this one and a little bit of harvest from this one that's not doing quite as well. And we'll get those stored and preserved because I don't like unnetting these much in the winter. So this area here is the first one that needs weeding, and this is where I'm going to put in some garlic. And I need to get on with this hopefully today if I can get the puppy to get some sleep and get this completely weeded. And then I'm going to be planting my garlic. So you know what, this soil's really loose, so it's not going to be difficult weeding at all. You can see we can get these long taproot weeds out just by hand super quickly. And then the other job I'll have to do after I've planted everything is to mulch the beds for winter. And I've got a whole load of sheep's wool to do for that. And the tricky thing about the sheep's wool is that the fox and my puppy absolutely loves it. So when I get the mulch on, I just have to make sure that I pin down the mesh really well to stop the foxes getting in and to stop the entry of errant puppies who are having a marvellous time crashing around in the garden. So that's what's going on in my winter garden in November. What's going on in your garden? Are you having more success than me? And if you'd like to see my winter garden in better years, take a look over here, and I'll see you in the next video. And that's what's going on in my winter garden in November. And that's and that's impossible, eh? Impossible.